If someone offered you a chance to help save the world, would you take it? In 1963, two opposing world leaders did just that.
Negotiations were concluded in Moscow on a treaty to ban all nuclear tests in the atmosphere, in outer space, and underwater. The loss of even one human life, or the malformation of even one baby, who may be born long after all of us have gone, should be of concern to us all. Our children and grandchildren are not merely statistics towards which we can be indifferent, nor does this affect the nuclear powers alone.
Strontium-90 is a man-made carcinogenic isotope that causes cancer. After that treaty was signed, prohibiting above-ground and underwater testing, strontium-90 levels declined again. But with the rapid expansion of commercial nuclear power plants in the 1970s, they leveled out and have turned back up until today, when they are back at the levels of the height of the Cold War.
Currently, there are 449 nuclear power plants operating worldwide. In the U.S., there are 99 nuclear power plants in 30 states. With the expansion of nuclear power comes a safety risk to all Americans living near the nation's nuclear power plants.
This is one of the most significant reasons why all U.S. nuclear power plants must be closed, because we have compelling evidence that they are contributing to cancer rates and infant deaths.
History is easy to forget in a world that every day becomes faster and more full of turmoil. It was just 6 years ago, on March 11, 2011, that the world's worst nuclear disaster happened. But we don't hear much about that nowadays. Sadly, the nightmare of Fukushima has only gotten worse.
If people really understood the truth about nuke plants, they would be much more strongly opposed to them. Fukushima certainly helped bring awareness. I just don't want to see one melt down to windward of a major population center, because it'll kill them.
The situation at the still crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant is still very, very dangerous. Radiation levels at reactor 2 of that plant recently reached their highest level since March 11, 2011, the day a massive tsunami and earthquake triggered the meltdown.
6 years later, the radiation levels at Fukushima is 76% higher than that of Chernobyl.
There are 1,500 fuel rods at Fukushima, and they have as much radiation in them as 14,000 Hiroshima bombs.
Every day, for more than 400 tons of contaminated water flow into Pacific Ocean, which damage Pacific marine life. I have no question which will affect the people of northwest coast of America.
The Japanese government has announced that it wants to put another 80 million gallons of radioactive material into the ocean because they have no place to store it.
There are solutions to this problem. For 30 years, the World Business Academy has been sounding alarm bells on moral, environmental, and social issues. The Academy's Beyond Nuclear Energy initiative found its legs with the closing of the San Onofre nuclear plant in 2013. The Academy was instrumental in its settlement with Southern California Edison for the refund of $1.4 billion to its customers. Next on the agenda, the closing of Diablo Canyon.
The Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant is the last operating nuclear power plant in California, and it must be closed for three main reasons. First, because of its danger to marine life. It kills over 1.5 billion early-stage fish annually through its once-through cooling system. Secondly, it is the most dangerous nuclear plant in the world from a seismic earthquake point of view. It sits near, on, or around 11 major earthquake faults. It is at risk for a Fukushima-like earthquake, tsunami, and meltdown. And the third and most significant reason is that in its routine operation, it emits cancer-causing radioactive isotopes, which are leading to increases in cancer and increasing numbers of infant death on the central coast of California. For these three reasons, the World Business Academy is committed to closing Diablo Canyon now.
On March 14, 2016, the World Business Academy presented factual data on proven radiation health issues to the State Lands Commission. The Academy requested that this information be included in the scoping memo for the proposed Environmental Impact Report, otherwise known as an EIR, prior to the Commission deciding to renew the leases for the plant. None of this information was included. And on June 28, 2016, the California State Lands Commission traded the well-being of the citizens of California for profit and greed.
A deal got cut behind closed doors to protect the financial investment of PG&E at the cost of the health of the citizens living under the plume of this nuclear power plant and at the known risk of a seismic event that could cost tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars and destroy the economy of the central coast of California for 1,000 years.
Local group is suing the State Lands Commission over the recent lease extension at Diablo Canyon Power Plant. The World Business Academy is demanding the state review what the group calls significant potential environmental and human health dangers.
On July 11, 2017, a hearing was held at the Los Angeles Superior Court, and the judge ruled against the World Business Academy.
It is a travesty that a judge in a superior court would be willing to risk what she admits is the lives of human beings from cancer caused by known radiation because on a technicality, she didn't want to have to decide on that basis. And as a result, we have filed our notice of appeal. I believe the California Supreme Court will continue to uphold the principles that we cited in the case, which the overwhelming law is in our favor.
This morning, an explosion in the engine room at a nuclear plant on France's northern coast.
FBI and Homeland Security officials have sent a warning to the nation's nuclear power plants and other utility companies after a series of hacks since May.
Since 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima, we are poised once again at the edge of a global nuclear crisis. Aside from nuclear accidents, nuclear power plants are at risk from other dangers as well.
I'm very concerned about a terrorist threat. It seems to have escaped everybody, but you can load a Cessna 182 up with 1,000 pounds of explosives and crash it into one of those cooling ponds. You've just created a dirty bomb.
The fact is, our generation and future generations will have to deal with the ongoing dangers posed by the nuclear power plants and the high-level waste they produce.
There are more than 71,000 tons of nuclear waste stranded at the nation's 104 reactors. Put all those spent fuel rods together and you'd get a pile as big as a football field and more than 20 feet tall.
Or you could put them in a pile as big as 2 football fields and 10 feet tall, or half a football field and 40 feet tall, or 20 football fields 1 foot tall.
We have already produced radioactive material 250,000 tons in the world. In Japan alone, nearly 15,000, which we have to keep it safe place for 100,000 years. I think international community of scientists have to raise the voice to this issue.
The Academy is dedicated to working with scientists on finding a solution for long-term storage and disposal of high-level radioactive waste.
Some of the technologies we're looking into do this include the fusion torch and the space elevator, from which high-level radioactive waste can be sent into a permanent resting place in the sun.
From time to time, there are moments in history when a simple fact, an unavoidable need, becomes clear. Do we want to pretend this isn't happening? Or do we rise up together and do something about it?
Our mission here is to shut down the nuclear power industry before there is another Fukushima.
We are all downwind. This is our ocean. This is our Earth. There's no turning back.
No nuclear accident is local anymore. It's a global issue.
We're always going to have to deal with the waste that we've already created. It's time to stop creating more of it.
Grassroots organizing can move mountains. Politicians respond to political will. That's built by grassroots movements, people standing up in their communities for what they need, what they want, protecting themselves from things like nuclear power plants.
25 years after the closing of the Rancho Seco nuclear plant in Sacramento, California, by popular referendum, there has been a major decline in cancer rates and infant death.
Given the compelling evidence that the World Business Academy has gathered, that the routine operations of nuclear power plants are contributing to America's cancer epidemic, we feel compelled to go out and work with local and state groups everywhere nuclear power plants exist to try to help them close those plants.
The World Business Academy is committed to leading the charge and working to shut down all nuclear power plants in the U.S. We can make the world a safer place and eliminate nuclear waste. You can help by supporting our Beyond Nuclear Energy initiative.
So we've been saying for years in the Academy, and it's never been more true than it is today, if not us, who? And if not now, when? This is the time, and we're the people we've been waiting for. But we must act, and we must act together.